Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus tour for the first week of October. I can't believe it's October already, guys. We're in week 6 of the college football season. Up for you today, I've got 6 selections, 5 quick hitters, and even 2 NFL selections for you. I'll throw those in there. And let's get started with your first game. Now, first of all, a quick recap of the records. Bounce back with the big winning week last week. 4-2-1 on the selections, 4-1 on the quick hitters, 3-2 on the FCS plays. The overall selections now 93-65 over 2 years. Last week I didn't post the selection record up there. I'm not going to do that this week, even after a nice winning week. And one quick note for you. The comments I got here on YouTube, I'd like to appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. You brought my spirits up a little bit. I had some really nice comments. Coming off of 2 straight losing weeks on the tour, got all these great comments. And generally, when you go on the internet and look for comments, they're going to be nasty. They're going to be negative. But you guys brighten up my day. So I appreciate those nice comments last week coming off 2 losing weeks. We bounced back with a big winning week. All right, let's get started with the first game. I'm going to call this one Play It Again, Sam, for 2 reasons. We're going to take Virginia +7 over Louisville. Now, the first reason is I used it on the tour last year. And it was a game I thought we were going to win outright. We used Virginia on the tour against Louisville. Remember, if you click on the box score, you get the box score of the game. And in that game, Virginia actually led 17-13 in the fourth quarter. They were led 20-17 in the fourth quarter. And then Louisville went down, scored a touchdown with 1:55 left to win by 4. But we were at home. Let's see what the spread was on that game real quick. I believe we were 2024 Louisville +7.5 at home and got the win. So we won with them last year. And a couple of things I want to point out. If you look at last year's Virginia team here, Virginia was playing at a 98.8 average game grade last year. And Louisville was playing at 114.6 for the year. So Louisville last year was a lot better team, but Virginia covered the spread. Well, this year, Louisville's gone from playing to that level to 110.1. Meanwhile, Virginia, which played at a 98.8 level last year, is now playing at 114.6. So, and that's a game where, by the way, if you go back to last week, Louisville's game against Pittsburgh actually led that thing 17-0. In fact, this touchdown here, this 3-yard drive for a touchdown, that was set up when Louisville blasted into the punt returner. They called it, he was pushed into the punt returner where they just touched him on the back, basically. And then this 25-yard touchdown pass here was one play after a fumbled punt snap. So overall, Pitt led 27-17, could easily have won that game. And you go back to the James Madison game this year, I thought they were outplayed by James Madison. James Madison had 19-12 first down edge in the game, but they ended up getting a couple of late scores in a misleading final, 28-14. So Louisville's not quite up to last year. Virginia's a lot better than last year. In fact, look at their offense. They're averaging 5.6 yards per carry, only allowed 3 sacks, hitting 69%. This offense is so much better than last year, 540 yards per game. Last year, just 361. Defensively last year, they allowed 408 yards per game. This year, just 354. So you have a much better Virginia team, a weaker Louisville team, and this is one where they're still getting 7 points. Now, granted, it is on the road, but the one thing I want to also point out here, I showed you the offense. We take a look here at the Louisville 185, 15 sacks. Okay, so the other thing I want to say for the Play It Again is that Virginia coming off a big win, right? And the reason I'm saying it's Play It Again here, let's take a look at Virginia off upset wins. If you go back and look at this, we can see here, we're going to look for a plus where they won outright. They didn't win outright there. They didn't win outright there. Our 24s are messed up right now, where it says the bold is for the spread. It shouldn't be that way. The bold should be for the thing. We'll get that corrected this week. All the other ones are correct. So here, you look for bold, you look for an underdog. They won as an underdog against North Carolina, covered the next week. They won as an underdog against Duke and lost. But here, so that right there, you're looking at 1-1. And I do believe let's see, did they win a game? Here they won as an underdog against Pitt and covered the next week. So 2-1 against the spread. Let's look for another one. Here they won as an underdog, pulled an upset, and then won the next week. That's 3-1. And let's see what else we got here. One as an underdog, won the next week. That's 4-1. One as an underdog, won the next week, 5-1. And you go back over here, I believe there is one here too. One as an underdog and then one again. So when I say play it again, Sam, Virginia, after pulling an upset as an underdog, covers the next week, 6-1. So it's a double play it against Sam here. Take Virginia +7 over Louisville. And let's continue on here. By the way, let me see if the schedule predictor had anything on this. Call the schedule predictor up here. Did I have anything on the Virginia one? No, I did not. But the AGG actually has Virginia by 1.5, as you can see here. 114.6 they're playing to. They're playing to 110.1. Even if you add in the home field edge, it still says Virginia, and they're getting a full 7 here. Take Virginia +7. All right, last week we won with an option versus option game. We're going to go with another option versus option game here, and that is Air Force against Navy. We're going to put Air Force on the left, and we are going to put Navy on the right. And let's get Navy here. All right. Whenever options play options, two things happen. Underdog. And if you look at this matchup series here, you could see that the underdog has done extremely well. I could go through it. I'm trying to cut down on the time here. There have been 11 upsets. Okay, here's how this works. This tells you who won the game. If this is green, they won the game. This tells you who covered the game. If it's green, they covered the game. Over here talks about the home team. If it says win, that means the home team won straight up. The color tells you what the home team has done against the spread. So as you see here, the visitors actually covered 4 in a row. But look at the amount of upsets. In the last 22 years, 21 years in this series, the underdog has had 11 upsets in 22 years. The dog is 15-7. The last 4 times that Navy has beaten Air Force. Let's go take a look at that. Here, they lost to Navy. They covered the spread the next year. They lost to Navy. They won the next year. They lost to Navy. They won the next year. They lost to Navy. They won the next year. The last 4 times Air Force has lost to Navy, they have covered the next year. Here is a loss, and that's another factor in their favor. As I mention all the time, the advantage of an option team is that you get to teams can't prepare for you properly, but when option plays option, like Rice last week, it shrinks the game. Everybody's running the football game, and the teams actually can prepare for the option during the week because they're running the option offense. It leads to the under and the underdog. In this case, we're going with the underdog. We're taking Air Force +12.5 over Navy. I went in depth last week about option versus option. We're sticking with that same one this week. All right, we got James Madison taking on Georgia State. So let's go to James Madison here on the left, and let's go to Georgia State on the right. And this one I'm calling a red-green game. And it's actually red-green for a couple of reasons when we look at this matchup. First of all, if we take a look at the series, I'm going to click on the series over here for James Madison and click on the series over here for Georgia State. Look at the red. These guys are red numbers across the board. Look at the green. These guys are green across the board. 5-0 straight up, 4-1 ATS. Dominate the game. Look at the yardage. I believe the yardage is out here. +193, +339, +168. They've won the last 2 games 38-7, 42-14. Now, the other red-green part would be here. Look at the red. Look at this rush defense. They're allowing 227 yards per game, 5.6. James Madison's at its best when it can run the ball, 249, 5.4. So you got to love that. If you look at JMU's rush offense, they actually outplayed Louisville, as I mentioned. They had a 19-12 first down edge, and you got Georgia State with that poor rush D. Then look at the defense alone. James Madison is allowing 91 yards per game, allowing 46.8% completions, and has 13 sacks. Georgia State's allowing 227, 5.6, 68% completions, has just 4 sacks. Massive advantage there. Big wins in the series. We're going to take James Madison -20 over Georgia State. Let's get to your matchup game of the week. And we're going to take Nebraska against Michigan State. Here is Michigan State on the left. They are the visitor. We're going to put Nebraska on the right. Now, if you look at these two teams, the one thing you want to see, look at the quarterbacks. Childs has a 9-1 ratio, Raiola 11-1 ratio. Both teams want to throw the football. Nebraska averaging 352 yards through the air, Michigan 220 yards through the air. So you have two teams that are at their best when they throw the football. Now, one thing we've got updated for you here, if you go to the Phil Steele Plus menu, we got a lot of things updated for you here. But one big thing that we've got updated is the pass efficiency defense. And if you go there, Nebraska has the best pass defense in the country, holding opponents to 50.6, an 0-1 ratio. Look at that, just 75 yards per game. Let's go find Michigan State's pass defense. It's way down here, number 110. They're allowing 68% with a 9-2 ratio and 263 yards per game. So both teams want to throw the ball. Nebraska's great at stopping the pass. Michigan State, not so much. One of the weakest in stopping the pass. How about Nebraska at home? They are 11-6 straight up at home. If you go back right here, they were 9-5 coming in. Now they're 11-6 straight up at home under Rule. That's an advantage to have. How about the AGG? Nebraska's playing to a 119.8 level. Michigan State to a 98 level. So if we take a look at our schedule predictor, I do believe I pulled this one up. Here it is. On the schedule predictor, Nebraska's a 3-play. Remember out here, these are the official plays for the best bets. It looks like Todd has last week's best bets records up here. He didn't get this week's in here, I don't believe. I believe these are 2 weeks ago's records. They might be this week's. Yeah, they might be. Okay. Yeah, they are this week. Sorry about that. Todd did it correct. Nice job, Todd. I'm sorry to say that. We take a look at, we got, if this is green, it's a best bet. That means that you've got 3 or more playing on the same one. These plays went 5-2 last week. The situation plays, look at this. They went 1-5. However, they're 34-15 on the year and 171-106. So I'm sticking with the situation plays. Coming off a losing week, just like the tour was coming off a losing week, bounced back with a big week. I'm looking at these situation plays. We're going to use a couple today. But let's look at our matchup game of the week. The AGG here has Nebraska by 25.6. And the power ratings have them by 21.8. My preseason ranking was 17. The line's 11.5. That's 1, 2, 3 best bets working on it. That's why Nebraska's a 3 out here. Our matchup game of the week, we're going to take Nebraska minus 11.5 over Michigan State. All right, last week I used a don't overreact game. We took Illinois coming off that pummeling by Indiana to bounce back and upset USC, and they did. Well, this week I'm going to take a look at Florida State and Miami. You got a couple things going on this one. Now, Florida State's off that tough Friday night loss to Virginia, and so all the fanfare that was on for Florida State sort of faded. Now they're a 4.5-point dog this week. However, this is also a computer wanted to use game, and we're going to click it up here. The computer on this one actually has Florida State 32-27. Now, maybe I was skewed by last week's results. I still have Miami winning the game by 3, but the line's 4.5 for Florida State. But the computer wanted to use this as a play. I wouldn't let it. And these plays, while 1 and 2 this year, had a great record the last 2 years. And, of course, won last week to make it that one. So I put it back up here as one of the selections as opposed to just a quick hitter. It's a computer wanted to use, don't overreact play, Florida State plus 4.5. And as you can see here, the computer's calling for Florida State to have a 413 to 354 yard edge in this one. Keep in mind that the underdog has done great in this series. I'm going to click off of it. By the way, this is what you get in Inside the Press Box each week. You get my complete write-up on the game with my forecast. You get the computer's projection on the game. And the computer, once October hits, does phenomenal. Had a poor week last week, but the computer, once the October hits, I'll have a record on that on next week's one. I just didn't have time to get all this done today. I was really last night trying to get all this done for the tour. I couldn't get it all done, but the computer's got a great record October on, and I'll bring that up for you next week. You won't want to miss the computer plays this week. Let's see, I got Florida State 1, 2, 3 plays on Florida. You got 1.5 on Miami. That's why it's not an overall best bet here, but there's enough riding on it. And if we take a look at the series history, click on it here, we see that Florida State If you go back and take a look at the underdog in this one, there have been 9 outright upsets over the last 20 years, and the dog is 14-6 ATS. And by the way, the home team, let's see, 1-2 has won 4 of the last 5. So you got to like a lot of the things in this one. We're going to take Florida State plus 4.5 over Miami. All right, final one for the selections, and then we get to those quick hitters, is a situation plus the offense and defense YPG. We're going to put Texas State on the left, and we're going to put Arkansas State on the right. Now, I mentioned to you, I'm going to double down on the situation plays this week. They had been doing phenomenal. They went 1-5 last week, and we update the records. This is the record for last week. This is the record for the year. This is the record for the last 3 years. So they went 1-5 last week to drop the record to 34-15, 171 and 106. I think the situation play is going to have a big week this week. Pick your favorite categories, by the way, for best bets. Track them in a year. Here last week, my preseason ones went 9-3. This category only went 2-5. That one went 8-5. But you could see, and then this is the 3-year record right here. Anyway, this is a situation play in Texas State. I don't have it listed, but it is a situation play on the schedule predictor. And what I mean by that, they're coming fresh off a bye. Arkansas State is playing a 6th straight week. So you got to like that. Texas State coming off a bye versus a team playing a 6th straight weekend. If you go back and look at Arkansas State, like against Kennesaw State here, look at this. Kennesaw State actually had opportunities to win by a lot more in this game. Let's see, Kennesaw State. Touchdown, 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 first 3 drives. Got stopped on downs at the 21. Fumble, 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 touchdown. They didn't really get stopped except for this stopped on downs. They didn't punt at all in the first half. They just sort of dominated the game even more than the final score would indicate. Kennesaw State had a 30-18 first down edge. Last week they lost to ULM, 4 straight losses. The defense has nobody back from last year and is allowing foes 94 yards per game above their average, number 130 in the country. Offensively, they lost their top running back, Cross. Rayner is having a decent year, but not what he had last year. And then their top wide receiver from last year, Corey Rucker, only 229 yards. Texas State, I really like Brad Jackson. They went on the road, beat UTSA handily. Now they're taking on a much weaker team here on the road. And so this is, then the final one I'm going to look at is here. We're going to go to the Phil Steele Plus menu. I told you there's a lot of stuff on the Phil Steele Plus menu that you can get, but the one of them I like is this offense and defensive averages. If you go back and look at Arkansas State against opponent averages, Arkansas State is minus 184.7. Their defense gives up teams 117 above average. Their offense is 68 per below average. If we look for Texas State, they are up here. They're actually plus 25. The offense is 61 above opponent's average. And if they get 61 yards above what Arkansas State is allowing, let's go back to that, team pages. And we're going to go to Arkansas State here. Team pages, Arkansas State. Arkansas State's allowing 467. If they get 46 above that, that's over 500 yards for the game. So that's pretty good. We're going to go with Texas State in this one, and they are minus 13.5 over Arkansas State. Well, let's get to your quick hitters. Virginia Tech is hosting Wake Forest. We're going to put Wake Forest on the left, Virginia Tech on the right. Let's get Wake here. Let's get Virginia Tech here. Come on, Wake, come on up. There we go. We got the home team. So let's take a look at the home team in this one. Home team, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. Click on this, you get to the home team. Home team has won 4 in a row straight up in ATS, so that's a big plus there. Virginia Tech, I believe this is one of the schedule predictor plays. Let's see if it is. Schedule predictor, Virginia Tech is a 3. They have played a 61 tougher schedule. They're over here as a best bet, and my preseason line on this was 17. It's a schedule predictor play as well. Virginia Tech minus 6.5. Streak of the week, we're going to take a look at Memphis against Tulsa. I'm trying to make these quick for you so we don't take a lot of time. If you click on Memphis, actually the one thing I'm going to click over here is I'm going to go to the Phil Steele Plus menu, and we're going to look at the logs real quick. Come on, Phil Steele Plus menu. Come on, Phil Steele Plus menu. Let's go. There it is. All right, look at the ATS logs. You could get these for college, FCS, NFL, all updated. If we take a look here at Memphis, they are a perfect 5-0. Let's go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's not updated for last week. But Memphis is 5-0. They covered against Florida Atlantic last week. 5-0 against the spread. And also the one thing I want to point out here, this is not just a streak of the week, but this is a last 4 weeks AGG. We can finally start using some of these last 4 weeks AGG. That makes me really excited here. We've got Memphis against Tulsa on the left. And here's the one thing I want to point out. If you look at the last 4, here's last week, but down here is the last 4 weeks. Tulsa, if you take away this game, is playing at an 87.4. And let's go to Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech's rating. And these are really going to get good once we start eliminating more games at the top. The AGG in the last 4 weeks will become a lot different. Right now, they're playing at a 98.1 level. Tulsa's playing at an 87 level. So that's 11. Plus you add in the home field edge. That's 2 touchdowns. And they're only laying 6.5 here. And they've played the much tougher schedule. Take Virginia Tech minus 6.5 over Wake Forest. Wait, I'm sorry. That's Virginia Tech. What? This is, sorry about that, guys. Tulsa, forget Virginia Tech. Got that in my head there. Sorry. That's what happens when you do stuff live like this. Here's Memphis. Memphis, if you take away this opening grade of Chattanooga, they are playing at 109.5 level. So here you're looking at a 9, and you got 13, 22, plus the home field edge. It is a last 4 weeks play. Let's go to the schedule predictor and get that. And Memphis over here. Memphis by 26.1 last 4 weeks. It's only 18.8 current average game grade, but 26.1 last 4 weeks. These I only have a few filled in because the majority of them are the same as over here, but I'm going to really add into these. And I'm really rushing today, guys, because I've got a TV show in Houston I got to do. And unfortunately, I got to get this tour done so we can get it processed. So I'm really racing. I apologize for that. My Stephen Hartzell play of the week, as you know, every Tuesday I do a podcast with Stephen Hartzell and Wayne Cook. Love talking to the guys. Stephen always asks me for a sneaky play, a play nobody's paying attention to. I used Akron this week. We used Akron on this tour against Wyoming. Tough losses. As you know, in this game, we were down 3-0, got intercepted in the end zone in the fourth quarter, and then Wyoming got a late touchdown to cover. But now we're at home against Central, getting over a touchdown. We're getting 8 points here. And let me see if I have this one on the schedule predictor. Do I have Akron here? I do. It's a 3-play on the predictor. 4.5, 3, 1.5. Once again, I have this TV show I got to get to pretty shortly, so I am racing. I can't be late for that. But as you know, you've done the tour a ton of times. I like Akron plus 8. I used it on the Hartzell tour. And you've got the schedule predictor as a 3-play. How about the situational play this week? We're going to look at App State, Oregon. I told you I'm going to use these situational plays. Once again, App State at home. Oregon playing a 6th straight week, coming off an overtime game, and now traveling across the country. That's always tough on teams. You've got an App State team that's 53-9 straight up at home. I thought this situation was poor for App last week, traveling across the country and playing Boise. Now they're at home. They need a win. When they were at home, they actually had a 503 to 216-yard edge against Lindenwood, only won by 7. They actually had a 470 to 389-yard edge, but lost by 16 here. So they better than their records would indicate, number-wise, this year, and they are. You got an 0-5 team in Oregon State that might start doubting itself. We see teams going to the tank sometimes. They're off an overtime game against Houston, which they lost, traveling across the country. It's a situational play on App State minus 1.5 over Oregon State. Situational play number 2, we're going to take Troy against South Alabama. And this one, we're going to put South Alabama on the left. We're going to put Troy on the right. And for Troy, we've got the fact that they are off a bye at home. We got South Alabama playing a 6th straight week. That's a pretty tough situation. So you've got that. You've got the fact that Troy earlier this year actually led Clemson 16-3. So just a really good situation. Off a bye. They're playing their 6th straight week. They're at home where they're tough. We're going to take Troy minus 1.5. And that is, I believe, up here on my schedule plays. They are that's Memphis. Here's Troy. Troy's a 2-play, not quite a best bet, but almost there. My overall rankings has them by 7.5, and it's a situational play as well. They're only minus 1.5 here. And over here, the last time here, Troy won by 18. All right, couple NFL games for you real quick. And like I said, really pushing against the time here. Let's go to the NFL and see what we got. And the FCS, I'll explain in depth on Saturday morning when you get those great plays from Chris. All right, first of all, I am shocked. I don't follow the NFL. And so right now, this morning, I looked at the Browns, and I knew they'd lost to Detroit 34-10. I don't live in a bubble. I know what the final score was. They allowed 277 yards to Detroit, for Christ's sake. Remember when the Baltimore game, there was 242? They were holding opponents to 122 yards below their average, number one in the NFL. So even though they've got blown out twice here by really good teams, Baltimore and Detroit are among the best teams in the NFL, the defense, it wasn't the defense's problem. And now they're taking on a Minnesota team this week. Let's get back to the NFL and get to Minnesota here, whose offense is struggling. You take a look at Minnesota. There's the Vikings. And we see their offense is 76 yards below what opponents allow. If they gain 76 yards below, they're getting 150 yards here. If they hold those 122 below, they're getting 170 yards here. Will the Vikings crack 200 yards? Now, granted, the Browns' offense is a problem, but they're getting 3.5. The AGG has Cleveland. So we're going to take Cleveland plus 3.5 to make it quick. Now, the other one, I'm going to go to the Phil Steele Plus menu here. And we're just going to take a look at the AGG. It's finally updated. And here we keep track. Now, the average game grade, once again, it doesn't just take into account the score of the games. It's the score of the games, the opponent. Look who the Browns have played: Cincinnati, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit. As well as the yardage for the games. The Browns are actually plus 57 yards against that killer row. So that's one reason to like them here. But when you go to the average game grade, right here, we've got the number one team in average game grade, Detroit, 94.32. They're taking on the number 32 team, Cincinnati, 71.4. All right, let's add Cincinnati 3 points for the home edge. That's 74. That still says Detroit by 20. We're going to go with Detroit minus 10.5 over Cincy. I promise next week I'm not going to line a TVA show up, so I have to cut this thing so quick and so fast today. But maybe some of you guys will appreciate the fact that the tour didn't take as long. But there you go. I've got 6 selections, 5 quick hitters, and even 2 NFL plays for you. And don't forget to check out the FCS thing, which comes up on Saturday. Once again, thanks for the kind comments on the YouTube thing. And let's hope we have another big winning week this week. And thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour.